Hello everyone to the water-based oil class today. I wanted to show you what you would look for if you were to go to the store and look for paints. These are tube paints. These particular ones are Winsor Newton. I got it at Hobby Lobby. I was at Michael, have them also. Jerry's Artorama would have it, and also Blick.com. There's more companies by Winsor & Newton, but what you want to make sure it says is water mixable oil colors. Okay, so if you were to go look for a color that you wanted or other hues, that's what you're going to look for, is water mixable oil colors. Now, the properties of these oils, they basically act like oil colors, and they have a lot of oil in it. It's just that you're able to wash out your brushes, and there's no toxic fumes. So you don't have to use turpentine to be able to get into, to wash you don't have to use turpentine to wash your brushes, so it doesn't give you those fumes. And also the paints themselves don't have any fumes. So that's why it's safe to do it in your home and not have an art studio. It's safe for people to use. But when we get painting with them, they don't act like acrylic colors. They're very thick. We'll have to water it down a little. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna put an orange layer over our board completely. And then that gives us a surface to do this great blending of the other colors, okay? And it looks like people are still coming in, so I don't really want to start yet. Anybody have any questions about the colors or what we're going to do today? I know, let's get started sketching.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do we have to return the brushes from the kit or any product from the kit?
No, I tell you why. They're very inexpensive and they might not even last through the whole painting. So I don't want that. These brushes that you have, one is this blue one, and that's what we're going to base all our colors on. And the other one, you probably have two other ones maybe, or one other one.
A large and a small one.
Well, I didn't pick those up, but if you rub them around in your finger, you'll notice they're a little more bristly than watercolor brushes. And that's to give you, it can be used for watercolor, but it's a little sharper, a little stronger, and it allows you to get the brush strokes that you look for, like in oil painting and that kind of thing. But no, that's a very good question, Celeste. We do not want the brushes back. Those are yours, and you can use them for the next classes because those brushes can be used with acrylics and watercolors, okay? And so let's get going. The very first thing I would like you to do is grab a pencil, because we're gonna sketch the apple even though we're going to cover it up, okay? So we want this apple to be about the size, well, look at this one. So we want the apple to be about 1/3 of the canvas, and I'm going to put it just about right in the middle there. So I'm just going to, I'm going to do it really dark so you guys can see. And apples are all misshapen. They're not always perfectly round. You're going to have a stem coming out of it and a branch coming down. It crosses over the apple and comes down here. And I just want you all to draw this so it gets in your mindset. Because when we're actually painting it, you're not going to be able to sketch it in. And we got one leaf going off the canvas, and we have one leaf that's right attached about right where the stem is. So I'm just going to use this line I did, and this one looks like a little boat, kind of shaped like that. Okay, this one we just see the beginnings of it. Okay, it's going to have a fork. anyway, so that's basically our sketch, and that's all we're going to do. You guys can make it round if that really bothers you, you know, when we actually paint it. Our light source is coming from the top left, so that means our hot spot is going to be about right there and a little bit right here. But more than anything, our shadow is pretty much around the whole thing. Okay, that's going to be our shadow. I like this line better. Like I said, none of this is going to stay here. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to use the orange. It's actually cad yellow. This is the name of this one, is cadmium yellow. Okay, even though it's a very dark. We're just going to pick some up with our blue brush without any water. And we're going to, and I am going to dip my brush in the water because that's good to get water up in the ferrule. But I am just going to just pick it up. And do I need to enlarge this? Okay. So we're just going to go across. Let me move this. We're just going to make sure we get all the bottom edges, especially around the edges, in case you are going to be just leaving it unframed. You want those edges around there painted orange, well, with all the colors actually. Okay, so I'll show you my water so that you can see every time I dip in the water. I am going to dip in and then go into my orange. I'm calling it orange, but it's really yellow. Don't worry about going off onto the paper. That's why we've got the wax side up. Turn it so it's wax side up if you haven't. If you can, I forgot to mention that. If not, it's fine on the paper side. What we want to do is we want to get a good coating of this orange all the way across. And we want to fill it in so you can't see little white of the canvas, the grain of the canvas fabric. You want to fill that in so all of it's filled in. Okay. Keep going down. If it looks like you're running out of orange, just make sure you use lots of water. We're going to need some of this orange for the apple. Oh, and I am going to mute you all. I forgot to do that. And just let me know if you have a question. Oh, what color is it? Yeah, so it's cad yellow. And I'm not worried that the pencil mark is smearing into the yellow because this yellow is going to get all covered up. Hopefully I gave you enough yellow in your tub. So I want to show you something. I played, this was my kit to begin with a month ago when I painted the original one. I just used an egg carton, and every time I was done painting, I would just spray it with water. And the paint stayed viable until I was done with the picture and got it done. So hopefully you have found that the little water I've added into your paints, it makes it okay. Okay, I'm still going over making sure that the white little knobs are disappearing. You know what I mean? The little grain of the fabric. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm having to stretch my orange. I hope I gave you enough orange, guys. cad yellow, I should say. I should call it by the right thing. Also, when I did this, I had a bigger brush. It helps to have a bigger brush, but I couldn't afford big brushes for 50 people. So in hindsight, you know, if you were doing this on your own, you would use a wider brush to get this done quicker. We would just want something for the other paints to be able to mix into. I'm not doing a very good job of coating it at this point. I think our other colors will do that. Okay. Just let me know when you're done doing that, either with a thumbs up. You can do a reaction. You could put it in the chat that you're ready to move on. I just don't want to go on. Ooh, we have someone just starting. Okay. So those of you that are joining us late, I want you to take your paper, lay it wax side up, put your canvas down on it, and you're going to paint cad yellow or the orange all the way around the edges and the top. And you're going to use, just make sure that all the white gets filled in. And like I said, you don't want to goop on so much paint that you don't have anything to paint your apple with. So kind of spread it thin. We just want a surface to glide the other colors on. Okay. How y'all doing? Okay. Everybody's still busy, I see. We do not have to rinse out our brush because we're going to just blend our other colors into it. I'm going to give myself a little bit more. Okay. Okay, so the top of our screen, the top of our canvas is going to be highlighted with red. Actually, there's going to be some green in there too. Let's start with the green and then we'll add the red on top. Maybe it's even blue. Okay, is anybody ready to go on? Nope, still painting. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, looks like most of us are ready to move on. We're going to take the blue and we're just going to go over, and I did not rinse my brush, okay? And you're just going to take the blue and go over it. And when you mix blue and orange, you get green. Go ahead, if it's really too dry, add a little bit of water. You want it to flow pretty easily, but still stay covered. Again, you don't want this little grainy stuff. I don't know if you can see that well. Let me lift this up. See how you still have lots of grain open? The idea is we're going to cover all that canvas grain with paint. So I can add water to my brush and get that flowing better. And at some point, you're going to have to lighten your brush, the way, how hard you push down on your brush to get a nice streak. You can, let's see, we're gonna go down about a third with the blue. The idea is we're covering up all the cad yellow. Because we've put down this base of blue, when we add the red on top here, it's going to make it go to a purple. It should anyway. Or a rusty purple. Make sure you paint the sides where on the side of the frame. Okay. So at this point, I'm not looking really to have it smoothed out completely how I want a finished painting, but with this red layer, I am. So I'm just getting some water again, and we're going to start picking up some red. This I'm going very lightly over. I do want this to stay on top. I don't want it to mix completely with the other colors. So I'm just going lightly on top. I'm not putting any pressure on the brush at all. I don't know if you can see that. But as I stroke this, I'm just going very lightly. We want all those colors underneath to give it luminance and have something showing through in different parts. Because if we were just to put the red on, every blank spot would be white canvas showing through. So we had to do a base layer, and then we're adding this red on top. Again, it's really thick, so I'm just gonna put a little water in there. The idea of putting the red up on top is it ties it in with the apple that we're going to be doing. And as you get to where you think you're finished, just go all the way across so there's no breaks in your streaks. And it doesn't have to be, I hope you can see there's some dark spots in here that the red isn't covering up completely, but it's definitely a red kind of top. So I'm not going to go back up on here unless I feel like I need to add another color. The idea is I don't want the orange to poke through anywhere. I mean, it will. There's no way around it. I mean, I like that. It's just that it could be a too big of a contrast for what we're doing. Okay. Well, it'll be more obvious down below. I'm going on the sides and making sure I've read all the way around. Okay. It looks like I am on my pretty close to getting down here. Has anybody ever worked with oils before? Or even water-based oils? Any hands raised? No? It really is a fun medium because you can go away from it for a day or so, maybe a week, you know, and still be able to work it. It's that forgiving. And so that's why people like it. People like acrylics because they like it to dry so fast and they can move on to things. Now, when I'm going across, I'm picking up the color a little bit, and sometimes it exposes the orange, which is fine. I just don't want the white to come through. So if you're pressing too hard, one indication is that white's going to pop through, and then you know you need to go lighter. Okay. I feel like my top is good. Okay. Again, I'm not gonna rinse my brush. I'm gonna go straight into the green and go ahead and pick up that. And we're gonna do some green with some orange through here, okay? I am gonna pop, did it again. You can change colors again. Maybe if I go out. Okay, and then go back in. Maybe I'll, okay. Okay, so again, we put the cadmium yellow or the orange color, it's light coating over all of it. Then we are blending with the blue, and then we put red on top. So I'm going to do a little more rows of blue coming down. I want to be able to kind of blend this top layer, even though this is a tabletop. This is where the table starts. It's just kind of not very defined, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to use any more red, except what's on my brush. And I'm just going to do blue or green down below. Now I'm going to let the yellow cad show through a little bit more down here. I kind of like that. It also is a good opposite for the apple. I'm going to grab some green this time. So I went from blue, about a 2-inch stripe of blue over the cad yellow. And the name of this blue, for those that are wanting to write things down, it's cobalt blue, okay? And the green is covered up. Let's see. It's phthalo green, P-H-T-H-A-L-O green, okay? So phthalo green is wonderful. Phthalo blue and phthalo green are some of my favorite colors. And the reason is there's a mixture of blue and green in them. There's, it's very mixable. It's, oh, I don't know how to describe it other than it's got this great viscosity. Oh no, kind of, I don't know. How would anybody describe phthalo blue and phthalo green? I don't know the terms. You see how I'm going into the green now?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna move some of the green up here too.
This phthalo green kind of reminds me of Kelly green.
It is very dark, yeah. And maybe that's a good definition. It's the phthalo blue and phthalo green are true intense. They're the most intense colors I think that are around. So I am going over green on top of where I would think the tabletop would be. And then I'm just smoothing over that blue. And if you have to add water to make it float and fill in the canvas marks, then you can do that fine. And like I said, I'm gonna leave some of the orange poking through, because I like that, down below here. Remember to do the green on the sides too. If you've added it up above, you need to go all the way around doing the sides with green. I'm going to bring some blue down here at the bottom. Not a lot because we want our shadow. We're going to be doing our shadow with blue, but it just needs another color. These paints take forever to dry. And he really won't be able to touch it for probably a good week. It takes that long, maybe even 2 weeks. You'll just have to pick it up from the bottom with the paper and go and put it up high on a shelf and don't even look at it, because if you touch it, it'll get marked up. So once we're done with the painting, you just have to be patient for it to dry. Okay. I'm going to show you something I'm going to do, which it probably goes counter to what I've already done, but I'm going to be adding in some stripes of orange. This is just a little bit dark, or the cad yellow. So I'm not I'm not dipping my brush, rinsing my brush, but I'm just going to go through and give it some streaks of the orange highlights. Okay. You still want to leave the blue in places. But again, go straight across. You're going to smooth out your rows. Going to add just a tad more up here.
Deb, did you go all the way down to the bottom?
I did. I'm down at the bottom. Yeah.
Okay. I can't really tell because it's white and white.
Can you see? I went.
I do.
All the way down to. Oh, I see. The white paper looks like my white canvas. Gotcha. Yeah. No, go all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to do a little bit more blue right there. So look at it, see if there's spots that you want to change. Because I think we're all done with our base and we're going to start our apple. Okay, the fun part begins. We've done all the work of getting this ready. Okay. That's a pretty obvious. Let's see. It looks more obvious on camera than it does in real life, but this strip isn't really as bad as it looks on camera. It's a lot of dark green here, not a lot of navy. It looks really navy right there, but it's really green. I don't know if, maybe if I move it, I can lift it up. I don't know if that helps. It still looks navy. Let's see. Trying to find green. No, that doesn't help. Take my word for it. It's really kind of a greenish over the whole thing. Okay. That blue, I guess, is coming through really deep. The nice thing about this paint is it washes off very nicely. Okay. So again, I'm going to pause the talk. I'm going to talk a little about what we're going to do. The next two steps are going to require color blocking. And that's the two pictures that Do you see this? We're just gonna, it won't look like an apple at all. We're just gonna take different colors, okay, and blend them to make it come, to have the, again, we're gonna be putting down a layer of color, and then we blend it with the mixable paints. It's just a little bit odd. It's a crazy way of doing things. And I wish that I had gotten you guys some white. I didn't even think about that. But we'll be able to do it with this. I am gonna rinse out my brush. So if you haven't rinsed out your brush, you can do that. You may also want to switch to the different brush at this point. From now on, we're gonna be doing littler pieces, but this brush seems small enough that you can do it. Now, I noticed when I went to clean my brushes, rinsing it in water doesn't get all of it off, and you have to put dish soap on your hand to be able to clean your brush out when we're done today. So make sure that you use soap. Don't just rinse it, just rinse it with water and then wipe it on a paper towel. You're gonna have to use soap to cut through the oil that's in these brushes that are staying in there, okay? So we are gonna get started basing it. And remember, we kind of covered up our apple, but remember, it's kind of in the middle, 2/3 of the whole thing. So that's what we're looking at. We're gonna be looking to place our apple, again, right in the middle, and it's gonna go, part of it's gonna go up above this line, but most of it's gonna be down below, okay? So to begin with, we're going to take the cad yellow, and we're just going to put, and this is at the top of the apple. It's the bright spot. So wherever you thought that, you drew that little bright spot, this is where I want you to place that. You're just gonna block it in that way. And we're not gonna mix it. The more you play with it, the more it gets mixed in with what's below. So we're gonna stop at that point. Okay. And then the next time, so you've got this little highlight. Next to that, we're gonna take red. And you may want to just brush off your orange a little. We're not gonna clean our brush, but you just wanna get a lot of that off. I'm taking quite a bit. Can you see this amount? I'm taking quite a bit of red to do this. And I'm just putting it down and coming around in a circle. This is the top of our apple. Okay. Then up above that, it's gonna get, I'm going to mix the orange and the red together on my plate. And we're going to do a top circle. Okay. Then I'm going to take this green and I'm going to add it to some of the orange that we've got and just lighten it. We're going to come around right here on the side of the apple. And we're going to put a stripe right here at the top. Okay. Then I'm gonna do diagonal lines through there and do orange on the side. Okay, let me go in now that, so this looks awful right now, and it looks like we're just adding little bits of things, and we are, but once we smooth it down, it'll look good. We're going to take red and we're going to add blue to it to make kind of a burgundy. This is our apple part that's in shadow. If we were at the library, I'd get a palette knife and we'd be just mixing our paints, maybe with a palette knife. Okay, and this one is going to come around. Okay, and you can just do the whole side. Going to come underneath and then back up again. This is going to be the whole shape of your apple. So go ahead and base that in with the red. Okay. Then we're going to just take straight red. I got to get this purple off a little bit. Let me rinse my brush. I want to use a bright red on the side. So right here, I'm going to come down and base that with bright red. And I've got it there. Let me see. That works. Okay. We're going to have a little bit of reflection at the bottom, so I'm putting a little bit of red down there. It's a secondary reflection off of that. So just kind of come around with the red a little bit. Okay. The other thing we're going to do is we'll go ahead and base in our shadow at the bottom. It's blue, so just take straight blue. And again, the shadow's down here, and it comes around the apple. And because our highlight is right on top, it really kind of goes around the whole bottom there. Now we want to make part of that purple. So I am going to add some other colors into that shadow. I'm just mixing it in with the red that was right next door. You can mix it right on the canvas itself. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay. Now, does yours look as crazy as mine does? Yes. Okay, I think what we need is a little bit of pure orange, or the cad yellow. Go ahead and get some cad yellow. We're going to do it on our highlights down at the bottom. Just go around the edge just a little. before we start mixing. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to switch my brushes to, you guys have 2 sizes, right? So I want you to get your bigger of the 2 filbert brushes. And we're going to be smoothing this out, okay? So whatever brush you're using, go ahead and put it in water and get water up into the ferrule. Okay, looking at our finished painting, I want you to take a look at the smooth marks. We're gonna make it look, if you look at your back picture, the biggest picture on the handout, you're gonna see that we're gonna take our brush and we're gonna go through places and it's gonna leave brush marks, but that's what we want. We want brush marks on all of these places, okay? So we're gonna start there. So I'm gonna zoom in so you guys can see this really well. And this isn't, make sure your brush is wet. You're gonna start up here at the top. Let me cancel, hold on, okay. And you're gonna just lightly come around. And just use streaky little motions. You're gonna go over the whole apple. You're gonna let it run, all the colors run into one another. And you're just moving in almost in C shapes, I guess, around. Let me know if you have any trouble. Okay. And then starting at the top again, let me go out a little bit more. Starting at the top again, I'm going to rinse out my brush because it got lots of colors on it. And I'm going to take it and come around this side now. Again, doing C strokes basically. You can drag that pretty bright red down into the burgundy part. Go all the way down to the bottom with your strokes. Okay. I'm going to pick up just a little bit more orange. And I'm going to do a little highlight. Like I'm adding it on top of that. Okay. Just on both sides there. Then I'm going to rinse out my brush again. And these are very light strokes. You're not pressing through and grabbing the bottom colors too much. If you do want your apple to have a little more green in it, you're more than welcome. Let's do a little bit of that. You're more than welcome to pick up some green and stroke over. Because honestly, some apples have both red and green. So do you see that? I just added some green in there. This back here, I'm going to correct it to make it look, we're going to make a place for our stem to come up. So I'm redirecting this orange, the cad yellow that's up at the top, and kind of fanning it out, okay? And then we're going to place our stem right in the middle there, okay? I rinsed out the brush initially because I was going to blend the shadow. So now I've got a clean brush and I'm, what do you call it? Blending the shadow, the burgundy. Okay. Okay. And that's about it. I just added a little bit of the highlight there, bright yellow, or the cad yellow on the left. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video again. Okay, we're gonna take our Indian red and we're gonna work on our branch, okay? It's gonna be basically this brown color, but we're gonna add some green to it on top and a little bit of light. We'll add some orange to it too, or the cad yellow. We want our tiniest brush for this, and I need to grab one. Okay. Wet your brush, your tiny brush. It should be a liner. I've got a straight one, but that's okay. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to anchor our stem. It comes from the center and it comes up above this the top of the apple. So it's going to come up about this far, maybe 2 inches tall. Gosh, this camera is not picking this up very well. I see that. Okay, now the easiest way to draw the branch is to have it come streaking through. And I think if I do that, we're going to connect here, but the branch is going to go up off here. So I'm using the bottom end of my brush just to draw where I want this branch to come. I want it to come through this apple. And it does not have to be straight. And it's going to go off this way and down that way. Then from this other tip, we've got this leaf coming off. And then right about here, we've got this other leaf. Okay. So now that I've traced that all with the back of my paintbrush, clean the back of your paintbrush off. And you can fill this in with your brown, the red. What's the color? Indian red is the color of this. It's a good brown. Remember, branches are really not smooth and straight usually. They've got lots of little bumps. You're going to get smaller as you get towards the end. Okay. Okay, you're going to take your orange and you're going to go on top with it. Actually, don't do your orange. I'm sorry. Let's do green first. You don't have to rinse your brush, but we're just going to make the base of this, mix the red, Indian red with a green. Again, just starting at the top. We're trying to make a good brown out of this. And then I'm going to go over the stem that's coming out of the apple with the green too. Okay. Our leaves are just going to have that same greenish. We're still going to do the brown and then we'll top it up with green. But go ahead and go over with your red, the red-green mixture. Okay. Okay, so we've got a couple things going on now that we need to look at and analyze your colors and see if you need to add a little bit more green anywhere. It's adding kind of a contrast. It's to the red as it passes through the apple. So make sure it's really a distinct from the color of your apple, if that makes sense. So actually I'm going over with green again, and it's making a very dark brown. So you may need to do that too. I've got a bit of a thick little branch right here. It's driving me crazy. You can just stipple the green. Okay. I think that's good. Okay, I'm going to go over the green leaf. Moving on to the leaves then. I'm going to just swoop in and paint them green. And then the other one green too, just base it in with green. Okay. Now, to get some lighter colors in those leaves, I'm going to rinse out my brush. I'm going to pick up some orange and I'm going to base it on there. I keep calling it orange, the cad yellow. I'm sorry. You guys knew what I meant though, right? Okay. Now where we want it really dark green, I'm going to take a little bit of blue. Let me see if I can zoom in on just the leaves. Okay, so this bottom has blue on it because it's in shadow, and same with the top. And then we're going to scrape in kind of our bright yellow, or add orange to it. And over here, I'm going to just do kind of a veiny thing with the blue. I know that doesn't make much sense, but I'm just coming through, going blue around the edges and dark spots. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of a leafy motion. You know how you've got veins on a leaf. And then as we get down here, really want to get some light green in there. And then if you guys still have some cad yellow left, hopefully you do. I've got to put a tad more out for me. Okay, so we're going to go over and do some highlights on the branch now. And I'm not doing a continuous line. If you can see, I'm just stroking it. Just how knotty and knobby a branch might be. And same with on the leaf, we're going to make some light patches. And up on the leaf. Go across the little stem and highlight it. The other thing you can do is brighten up the stem that comes out of the apple. And I think I might even put a little scrape in it, all the way to the white. If you like that look, you can do that along the stem too. Or the branch, I should say. Like it's a highlight. Along the leaf, it's got certain little highlights too that you can bring out with a scrape. And same across this top stem. I'm adding a little bit brighter orange in there, or the cad yellow, because I want it to pop like it's like this leaf is half turned. So I'm kind of bringing some more in there. That makes sense. So then I'll scrape it again. And then maybe just right here at the beginning. Okay. The other thing that we need to do is we need to kind of give a little bit of a scrape right in here on the apple. As a highlight, and then over here also. Okay. Try to get all of this in. There we go. Okay. Like I said, it takes about 2 weeks for it to completely dry. This one is still weird. I mean, if I were to brush my hand over it, it's not wet and it doesn't come off my hand at all, but it's a little tacky and I don't know how to describe it. So I think what happens is you need to put maybe a varnish over it if that bothers you. If not, it can stay. It's completely protected, but a lot of people will, over their oil paintings, will put a varnish so that it seals it and protects it. And that's it for the class.